Greetings, family. Dr. Joe here, and I hope each of you are well and blessed. And I'm happy on today because I have a special guest, Dr. Stephen McConnell. Doctor, thank you for joining us on today.
You're welcome. Pleased to be here.
Yes, we're going to have an amazing conversation, and this is an individual who's very, very well versed, and he has a lot of knowledge in the field of kidney health. This is something that plagues a lot of people in our community, and not just people in the African American community, but all over the United States of America, and I would imagine throughout the world. So, doctor, let's go ahead and jump in. Tell us about the kidneys. What are they, and exactly what do they do?
Well, the kidneys are there to filter out toxins, poisons, things that don't belong in the body, while maintaining normal blood health. And basically, it's a filter. And the blood passes through it hundreds and hundreds of times a day. And it separates the solids from the water, cleans out the water, the fluid in the blood, expels the toxins, holds onto the protein, the things you need to keep and not lose through the kidneys. And then it pulls most of the water back in. It's pretty much a miracle how it works.
So it's one of those things that we need to do our best to take care of our kidneys.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. We hear a lot about kidney disease, and I know that that's within your wheelhouse. What is kidney disease, and how does one acquire that?
Well, kidney disease, most commonly, they follow up people with high blood pressure, hypertension, or they've got diabetes, and that includes pre-diabetes before you become diabetes. But there's at least 5 other factors that's my world, most people don't check for, and I check for all of it.
Can you talk about, so hypertension and diabetes, would you say that one is more negatively nefarious on kidney health than the other, or are they both evil twins?
Depends on the individual. Let's say maybe your blood sugar is pretty good, but you have hypertension. You're still going to see damage to the kidneys. And likewise, if you do not have significant elevation in blood pressure, the diabetes can still affect you. Now, there's 2 basic parameters they check. One's how well it's filtering, the fluid being removed through the kidneys, and the other is the actual urine, if it has excess amount of protein, which means there's damage. Now, the protein in the urine is usually from high blood pressure. The loss of filtration is usually an effect of the diabetes, but they overlap a lot.
What is it about hypertension that damages the kidneys, and what is it about high blood sugar levels that damages the kidneys?
Well, I like to paint pictures with words because most of my encounters are long distance.
Okay.
Like I have a family in the Philippines, and so I have to paint a picture.
Okay.
And I got pretty good at it. If you took a balloon and went out on the lawn and put a garden hose in it, but you also had another short piece of hose to drain it, it will eventually fill that balloon up, but that little piece of extra hose that's up in there will drain it off. If you have hypertension, that's all in disarray. The exit tube, they call it a efferent artery. It removes the blood from these little units, these little balloons, will not adequately operate, and then that balloon gets more pressure in it, and then it deteriorates. And there's little, almost like hands, they call them podocytes, which are like toes or extensions. Those start to wither because they hold the balloon so it doesn't experience as much damage, much like your hands would keep the balloon from bursting. That's probably as good as you can describe it and keep it simple. But with the blood pressure being high, there's too much pressure coming in and not enough being relieved at the other exit artery. And then you have a problem. Slowly but surely, there's damage to the kidneys. You may notice it as bubbles in the urine that don't disappear quickly. But you really need to have a lab capture some urine and see how high the protein is.
Interesting. That's interesting. Now, we were talking about the major components of the manifestation of kidney disease, hypertension, and diabetes.
Right.
But you also referenced other areas. What are some other comorbidities or other factors that impact kidney disease?
What's unique to your congregation, just like my brother-in-law, he's African American, he has high blood pressure, But I tested them about 25 years ago. And what also comes up commonly in your population, in your community, is what they call LP little a, LP with a little a. It's a really, really dangerous cholesterol particle. And that's probably the least known, but I've been following it for almost 25 years, and now they've proven, if you look at the genes for that particle, they come up way more often in the African American population, specifically kidney disease, acidosis. Your body's under a lot of strain, and it doesn't have an alkali, which is a negative pressure, so the pH should be a little higher than normal to compensate. They lose the alkali, the bicarbonate really is the main one. And then you slowly but surely become acidotic, the body becomes acidy, and that damages tissue, especially the kidneys. The other things that often don't get checked are thyroid. That's a big one for me, because when you have kidney disease, the thyroid does not operate properly, particularly with acidosis. And the normal healthy hormones that come out of the kidneys are slipping through the kidneys. And I tell the patient, imagine you got a faucet going 10 gallons a minute and the tub's 100 gallons, 10 minutes. No, you're losing it at probably a 5 or 8 gallon rate. So it's going to be very difficult for the thyroid gland to keep up with the loss through the kidneys. So it's 86% have acidosis, low pH, and at least 75% have low thyroid. And it's not obvious. Sometimes the blood work is misleading. So I have other means they can do at home for free to check for the low thyroid, and also to see how their blood sugar is doing. And it's always nice to have a measurement that doesn't require money
It does.
to capture.
That's great, and we'll dive into that a bit deeper in the conversation, because that's great information. But I want to go back to LP little a.
Yeah.
And can you please, sir, break down a bit more detail what LP little a is? Because a lot of the constituents, we've talked about that on this platform in our village. But
Good.
Tell us what
good.
LP little a is and why it's so nefarious.
All right. Well, first of all, I live with it. I don't have it, but my wife does. And when I first met her, she was so gorgeous, I thought, I'll never stand a chance. Cholesterol comes in a package. It's a particle. It's a sphere. If I took her wristwatch off and wrapped it around a baseball, that's what it looks like. And if you look at the wristwatch, that's a receptor, so the body can pull it out and remove cholesterol from the bloodstream. The larger ones aren't very dangerous. They're very light. They have low density. So if that goes down a garden hose, if you could imagine that, it's not going to touch the sides. It's like a ping pong ball. It's too light. Now, if you had a sphere that was dense and heavy, like a ball bearing, it'll rub against the wall of that artery and cause damage. Then there's LP little a. It's a small, dense particle, and you get those with diabetes, but it's a special type. It has a tail. I call it the devil's tail, because it's 7 times more dangerous than that first particle I mentioned, 6.6 times. And if you're on Lipitor or Crestor, cardiologists don't understand this, lipid specialists like myself, I look for it, because you want to measure it once in their lifetime. If they don't have it, you don't need to measure it again, because it's genetic. Exercise, diet have no effect. There's almost no medication that works. And the only one they've been using for 50 years is niacin. And I take 4.5 grams, it's like 30 cents. My wife takes 4 grams, I think it's around 30 cents. And it's very effective, but it's not easy to use, so I've made a career on that. And 1 out of 4 people have it. In your congregation, it's probably close.
I have it as well.
You inherited it.
Right.
It's genetic.
Exactly.
And I said to your father, Reverend Jasper, I said, they call the term cascade screening. You find one member of the family, you test them all. And if I haven't tested someone, I ask them, do you have a father, an uncle, a cousin, a brother, first-degree male relative who had a premature heart attack? A premature heart attack is pretty much anyone who has a heart attack before they're eligible for Medicare. And I see guys at 30 have a heart attack. That's LP little a, almost always. And it does pass along through women, but when they're making estrogen before menopause, it keeps it lower. and then they lose the estrogen during menopause, and it starts to rise. And that was exactly what happened with my wife, Kathy. And everyone should get it measured at least once in their lifetime, because if you know it's elevated, now you can follow up. And it might not be widely accepted, because about 1% of carriers ever get it measured in the US, and that's one of the many flaws in our healthcare system. We started screening for it in 2000, and it was just like the statistics, 1 in 4. And Asian Indians, African Americans, it's much more prevalent, and they have a particularly virulent type that's slightly more dangerous than the average type. So I look for it, because you don't want these people to be on the wrong medication. And that's a big debate, but I don't have a lot of patience with foolish opinions, and I just listen to people that really know what they're talking about. And my explanation, so the patient understands, is I hire a guy to teach my kids how to swim. I go to the pool to kind of watch, see how my kids are doing. And I ask him, will you show me that side stroke? And he turns and says, oh, I really don't know how to swim. I'm paying him to swim, and he doesn't know how to swim. That's most of what's going on in regards to many abnormalities in health. There's so little known about it, yet the same individual that knows nothing has an opinion. I'd rather talk to somebody that really knows a lot and actually measures it and treats it.
Let me ask you this. So if a person is suffering from kidney disease, most physicians do not, I would imagine, look for LP(a). Is that standard of care?
Last one on the list,
wow.
For sure.
Now, if you have a person that has kidney disease and you do that particular test, why is that important to their course of treatment?
Good question.
Okay.
All the cholesterol particles can cause damage. There are a series that God put there to protect you. And there's actually about 30 for every one of those bad particles. They're very tiny compared. It's the difference between something that big and something about that big. And those can be defective, but just for the moment, we'll talk about the bad particles. Any of those will affect the artery. The artery carries blood to the kidneys. If there's disease there, you've got a problem. And it affects the heart, it affects the legs, it affects the brain. And I tell patients, it's like you can have a heart attack, but you can have a brain attack, you can have a leg attack. And in some description, you could say the kidneys are under attack when they have vascular disease. And it's largely without symptoms until it's pretty well developed, particularly kidney disease. And the sad truth is that the CDC, the government, keeps statistics, and 90% never find out till they're stage 4. That was what happened to my dad. And that's pretty sobering.
Wow. Now, is there a connection between LP(a) and ApoE4? Or
yes.
The ApoE? Can you explain what ApoE is? Because we've had this discussion as well.
It's a gene.
Okay.
And there's basically 3 numbers that appear in pairs, either a pair of 2s, or a 2 and a 3, or a 2 and a 4, and then there's 3-3, which is the majority, and it's considered normal. And the 4s are the dangerous ones. Just a single 4 with either 2 or 3 next to it is dangerous. But I see people sometimes, and they always have bad family history. They got 2 4s, so ApoE44. It's a one-time test. It's a genetic test, and it's invaluable. It might cost $48, but is your health worth $48? And when you have that, those receptors that grab onto the spheres and pull these particles out of the bloodstream are defective. It's kind of like a catcher's mitt with a hole in it. They might catch a ball once in a while, but it's not a fully functional receptor. That happens with ApoE4. They also recycle cholesterol through the gut at an unusually high rate. About 80% of them carry that. That's genetic too. I have that. And in general, they have a much higher risk for all these vascular endpoints. And the one thing most people connect to ApoE4 is dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And I'm getting involved in that lately because there's some better testing. There are natural therapies that help offset, slow down the progression. I've seen it work in a number of people. It's just, you need to know it's there.
Wow.
And the Lp(a) expert I defer to, he's my mentor, is in San Diego, Dr. Sotirios Zemickas. It's a mouthful. We call him Sam. And he's...
Sounds Greek.
Yeah, he's very Greek.
Okay, all right.
He has his own olive oil company.
Oh, wow.
He's a great guy. His quote that really stuck in my head is, if you don't measure it, you'll miss the diagnosis. That's the story right there.
Wow.
You have to ask your doctors to order these.
So this information is critical.
Critical.
Okay, this is excellent, excellent. Let me ask a question. Kidney disease, can it be reversed?
Well, the current paradigm belief system is no. And I now have a company because for many reasons I wanted to develop an easier way to take these combination of natural components and put it into one capsule.
Okay.
And the one member of my team, Dr. Chet Fox, he's been on the board with the National Kidney Foundation for 25, 30 years. He's a little older than me. And he said, in nephrology, it's rather cynical, but that's kind of their view of the disease, is that it can't be reversed. It's like a scar that will never heal. All you can do is treat them and try to slow it down. And unfortunately, in the United States, it's like a race to dialysis. That's the focus, not prevention. And in my world, if you catch them early enough, there's every reason you could stop it. And my dad was stage 4, and I got him back to stage 2 and canceled the nephrology referral. He lived another 6.5 years without dialysis.
Wow. I know that means a lot to you to have treated your dad.
Well, yeah, I was focused on heart disease, and kidneys were kind of
You stumbled into it.
My dad, and the Lord moves in mysterious ways, and my own father, and he was the preacher's kid, I was the grandchild. I was devastated because that was exactly what the statistics said. It appeared when he had stage 4. Well, what about 1, 2, 3A, 3B? There are 4 stages that routinely get missed. And there's only one biomarker that will detect them earlier, and it's $28. Come on, $28?
Let's take 2 categories of people. Let's take individuals who have healthy kidneys and they're trying to preserve the health of their kidneys. What are things that they need to be doing now?
Exercise, diet, you always hear that from your doctor. Make sure you're eating foods that have little or no phosphorus. If you have a container at the grocery store, and they always have to label it, you look at the back, and there'll be various forms of the word that implies phosphorus, but it begins with P-H-O-S-P-H, phospha, and it might say phosphaturic acid, which is what's in Coca-Cola, phosphatidic acid, phosphate, phosphorus. Look for that. Avoid those foods, and that's your junk foods. That's your soda pop. That's one of the worst. And vegetables are probably far more healthy for you, of course, and those are really particularly good for the kidneys. But you still need protein, which is also controversial. But you don't want to die from malnutrition by eating no protein. I don't recommend that at all. I think that's inappropriate. But watch where your food comes from. You want grain-fed beef. You don't want processed beef. Now, I happen to like some things that maybe aren't good for my kidneys, but if you're keeping your kidneys healthy, sausage, I love sausage,
Who doesn't?
Processed meats, cured meats. Who doesn't like that?
Right.
You just have to have a balance in what you're doing. And you want foods that have been not been processed or less processing, and read the labels. If you eat the right kind of foods, stay hydrated, drink enough water, and above all, get the testing and start this more disciplined lifestyle, but find out where you're at baseline. Because patients often come and they have no blood work. I said, well, it's like driving to Los Angeles without a map.
Right.
Good luck. And I really want to know where you started, because if I have any success, I usually do about 95% of the time, I want to know how much how much mileage we got.
Right.
And if you use the wrong test, it kind of understates how much benefit occurred.
Got it. Let's take individuals who may be in various stages of kidney disease. what do they need to do in order to improve, slow, or reverse their condition?
They almost always have hypertension, more often than not, with diabetes. Control your diet, get some exercise, take your medications. Take the medications more seriously so that you're getting the most benefit from them to keep your kidneys from getting worse. Now, having said that, controlling the diabetes and the blood pressure doesn't necessarily reverse kidney disease. It'll slow it down, but if 86% have acidosis, a sodium bicarbonate tablet, I think they're about 2.5 cents now. And the starting dose is 3 of those, one at lunch, 2 at dinner, because you're offsetting the meal, which brings these protons, which is what acid is. It's a positive charge, and the phosphorus, and a lot of other things with it. And you want to offset that, not wait too late or take it too early, because if you have the bicarbonate in the food, as those nutrients also carry the protons, it's going to want to push the pH down. The bicarbonate will hold it back up. And don't be misled about sodium bicarbonate. It's sodium chloride, table salt, that's an issue. And in the last 10 years, they discovered the sodium's not evil. It does attract water, it can affect blood pressure. But how does it behave? That's determined by the chloride. It binds so strongly to it, it won't allow the kidneys to get rid of it, and it's retained in the body and causes problems. In every trial with sodium bicarb, the bicarbonate drops off rapidly, and then the sodium is excreted rapidly. It doesn't hang around to cause a problem. In fact, about 20% of them, the blood pressure looked better. There was no edema, there was no changes in blood pressure medications. It's an inexpensive therapy. I take it and I don't have kidney disease because I don't want to get kidney disease.
Wow, that's smart.
Yeah.
Now, what is a classic type of patient that you work with? Are you dealing with individuals who are more on the preventative side? Are you dealing with individuals who are in some stage of kidney disease looking to reverse it?
Well, sadly, until they come to me, they've been within the current system. And I rarely see anybody with lower than 4, stage 4. And it's really sad because some of them, I never get to them until they're stage 5, and I've got quite a few on dialysis. And you do what you can, but it's a little easier to pull it backwards if it hasn't gone too far to the right.
Wow, preventative.
Yeah, so most of them are stage 4. Now, Dr. Bailey, your dad's doctor, she's a good friend of mine. We went to a program and had dinner together last night. She's as good as they get, one of the best in Atlanta. She orders very comprehensive blood work with the better biomarkers. See, the insurance company wants to cheap out. They pay $3 for a creatinine, and that's why 90% don't know they have kidney disease. Well, she orders appropriate blood work. And as with your father, everything I'm looking for was on that blood work. Now, if it wasn't somebody like Dr. Bailey, they usually come to me and they've got a conventional practitioner, and it's been overlooked. And I do what I can, but if they're not on dialysis, there's a real good chance you can stop it, and about 90% of the time they go backwards. The minimum I see is a 10% movement backwards. But the majority of them, 2/3, probably 75%, go back a whole stage. That's pretty good. That's supposed to be impossible, but it's not boring. I love it every time it happens. I had a guy in Sacramento, he had a GFR of 30. GFR is the filtration marker. It's a blood marker. And he had the good one. So it was a real 30. It wasn't lower than that. Because if you run a creatinine and then run the good one, they call it cystatin C, they never agree. And it's usually worse than the creatinine set. That's the problem. So he took the cocktail, and the nurse practitioners called me later because I don't live out there. And oh my God, they're all going backwards. They had 12 patients go backwards.
Wow.
I couldn't have been happier.
Wow.
And this fella went from 30 to 130. That's 100 points. That doesn't happen very often.
Where should a healthy person be?
Well, normal stage 1, you're somewhere between like 85 and 100.
Okay.
And there's a thing called hyperfiltration, but we won't get into that. That's where temporarily there's suddenly more filtration, but it's the body's bailing out the manifestation of damage, and then suddenly it goes down.
So dialysis is determined by the body's lowering of filtration of the kidneys. That's where those different numbers come from.
So you look at the urine to see if the protein's elevated, and because they use creatinine to do the GFR, it's high in the blood, what's low in the kidneys, because it can't pull it out, and that's the problem. That's how you estimate GFR. GFR is really based on a 24-hour urine catch. Pretty laborious, not practical. So they came up with these calculations, but they relied on the creatinine far too long. It should have been discontinued decades ago, but the insurance companies are the problem. But all you have to do is ask for the right lab work, and if there's a refusal to do so, or they say, well, you don't need that, I don't know what that marker is, I would question that.
Okay.
You want, like Dr. Bailey, someone who's proactive to capture the right laboratory information to help you.
Let me ask you this. Two things I want to say. Great, fascinating conversation. If a person's watching, what are some of the signs and or symptoms that you're developing kidney disease that people can maybe look for?
It's kind of sad, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like blood pressure. You usually don't know you have it until it's pretty bad. And with kidney disease, there's less urine flow, but most people don't really notice it. And they also don't feel symptoms, body symptoms, till it's pretty far along, stage 4, maybe even stage 5. Sometimes you get uric acid build up in the blood and you get like a white frost. There's also a feeling of malaise, kind of like having a mild case of the flu. Mental focus tends to deteriorate. Lack of energy, appetite can come and go. And there's no one set of symptoms every patient displays, and they quite often find out they're stage 4 and they didn't feel any abnormality. That's why you have to check the blood work, because you don't want to wait until you're talking to a nephrologist and it's too late. You want your primary care physician or your internist or your endocrinologist to order the right stuff. Now, the insurance companies have, I hate to say it, dumbing down medicine. And what's happening is the insurance companies are deciding what the doctor can do. That doesn't mean you can't get the markers, but if insurance has created an environment where they're not used to ordering them, which only saves money for the insurance company, you have to take responsibility for your health and ask for it. Cystatin C, that's C-Y-S-T-A-T-I-N, and then there's a dash with a C. That's the blood marker. I work with a lab that has really low prices, so that saves the patient a lot of misery financially. And it's about $28. The urine test is cheap. They do it all the time, but they don't always check for the protein. That's covered by the insurance. There's no pushback there, but you have to ask for it. If the doctor's using creatinine and he doesn't think you have kidney disease and you do, why would he check for protein in the urine? That's the problem. You're helping your doctor, like what was that sports agent, Jerry Kramer? Cuba Gooding's there.
Right.
He said, help me, help you. That's what this is. You want to ask the doctor to help you help yourself, really. And if the doctor's open-minded, that's a good attitude. That's more important than being brilliant. My favorite doctors, I don't care if they're smart. If they've got the right attitude, they're doing everything they can for the patient. And they're going to do it.
All right, let's speak in as we conclude. I want you to share with them individuals who, what they need to do if they want to contact you, if you have a website, or if people may, how can someone contact you?
Well, the easiest way is, and you all probably we don't know each other, so if you call me, it's going to go to voicemail. That happens every day. And a lot of my new patients, I don't know who called. I don't know if it's a scammer, so I call the number back, but it'll go right to voicemail. If you call me, that might delay it. I might not see it till the end of the day, but if you text me, that pops up right away, and I've always got the phone around. And it's 814, I'm up in Pennsylvania, 572-1801. So 814-572-1801. And then we can get started, and I'll capture an email for you, email address, and I send instructions, and I tell you what the terms are, and that this is something that takes at least 90 days, because I want to see where you started. You're going to need blood work. If you haven't got the good blood work, I'm going to help you find it so it's not a terrible expense.
Wow.
I generally tell people, if you get a panel, because it's not just the kidney stuff, I want to see all these other markers that influence the health of your body.
Comprehensively.
Yeah, it's about half of a monthly car payment. Hey, is your body worth that?
Right.
Of course it is. And if you don't have that much in hand, you know, somebody in your family can probably put it on a credit card, get it over with, because the best analogy, and I have to paint a picture all the time, is you buy a jigsaw puzzle. I used to put them together with my grandmother, and, you know, when I was a kid, and I enjoyed that. Well, there's a picture of a guy. Well, there's no pieces for his face. And it says 1,000 pieces, and you count the holes and say, well, geez, there's 100 pieces missing. That was more important than the rest of the puzzle. That's what the good blood markers are. Most people don't know about them and don't order them, but you don't get the whole picture. And in some form, you're paying for that information, but you have to ask for it. So I say, let's get the good blood work. I can start the process, but I'm kind of a detail guy, because those details are really important. I want to see the whole picture. So if you get the right blood work, now we're off and running. Meanwhile, they usually have some blood work. I can look at that and get a pretty good idea where we need to go. But then 90 days later, we recheck it. And that's a moment. I mean, it's a big deal, because it always looks better.
Wow.
And if they didn't do it, I don't say, did you do it? I said, why didn't you do it?
Got it.
I know when they're cheating.
So after that, you'll be able to assess where a person is, if they're healthy, and what to do to stay that way, or if they have progressed down that line, what they need to do to improve.
Right. And just for the record, lifestyle is really important, but people struggle with it. Let's face it, the food companies have us addicted to carbohydrates. They say that's worse than fentanyl, because it's cheap, it's not illegal, and it's easily accessible. And they've done that for the last 50 years. I'm 70.
Wow.
And I remember when people didn't eat all day long, and people actually got exercise. And now they're up in their phone all day, and I carry a little weight. I can't blame my wife, but she's a good cook. What am I going to do? She's Italian. If I don't eat the pasta, I'm in trouble. But you can correct the blood work, and that means your body's healthier, even if maybe you don't look perfectly healthy. But you got to fix it. And it's not that difficult. And over the years, I've eliminated most pharmaceuticals because, and it's true, I said God got it right the first time, and the drug companies know that plant works or something out of the sea. And they look for something in there they can tweak and call it original idea and patent it.
Wow.
And they're usually more toxic, less effective, and way more expensive.
Wow.
And my favorite medication is niacin. It's very controversial. Don't take the time or waste the time with fools. There's something in the Bible there, I'm sure you can quote it. You know, I don't book nonsense.
It's a lot.
You know, there's a lot of nonsense out there, but if you empower yourself, you can really change your health. And I always say, if they can't get a perfect body from diet and exercise, you can still re-engineer the interior of your body. And it's very true, because when I first conquered heart disease, we had no heart attacks for 5 years. We had 2 or 3 a month in these 2 offices. It was niacin and fish oil. But don't go buying niacin without some nerd like me, because it isn't that easy the first few days, and I don't want you all to quit. And it's 2 tablets is a gram, half a gram each, 500 milligrams. And those are 3 cents a piece. And you know, the first heart attack study was niacin, and the dose they used, this is 1972, I'm in high school, right? Today would be 2.4 times 6. You know, not very much money.
Wow. Wow.
You know, I mean, when you look at the cost of niacin, there's no argument there. And fish oil. Fish oil is cheap. If you can't eat enough fish, it's a good way to get those important fats in there. Because there was a big myth about fats, because the sugar industry paid off the guy that did the study. Turns out most fats are not bad for you, particularly if they're natural, like what you see in meat. It's the sugar. Sugar makes cholesterol, not fat. And it's mostly made by your body because you're overloaded with these simple sugars. It ends up getting stored in your liver. That's how you get fatty liver, as fat deposits. And you have to understand that the carbohydrates are the worst thing.
Wow. What a fascinating conversation, Doctor. Thank you so much for being my guest.
I'm happy to be here.
I know that you all, our viewers, are enlightened on today. I know I have been. We have the information that Dr. McConnell shared with us, and you'll see it right there on your screen in order to look out for that. And if you want to reach out to him, I'm going to hire his services because I want to see where I am to do all that I can do, as I'm certain many of you, in order to retain as much health and wellness as possible, because health is wealth. So
may I add one last thing? There's always hope. I'm a big believer in hope. And when I first spoke to your father, we said, let's do a health screen. What better way to help a lot of people when they're all together? Well, the church.
Right.
And I already had the idea, and then I met somebody that was part of the National Group of Black Pastors, and they called it Kidney Sundays. Yes, that's it, Kidney Sundays. If you did a screen where you actually voluntarily allowed patients to get a blood draw and a urine catch. If it's nice outside, you do it in the parking lot. If it rains, you come inside. Now you're going to get all that really good information while you're here for church. And
wow.
I think that's a brilliant idea. And I downloaded the little toolkit, they call it, and I thought, I told your dad, I said, imagine if even a third of the congregation got that blood work and suddenly they find out something maybe you're not real happy about, but they're still above ground.
Right.
They still haven't seen a nephrologist. Maybe they still haven't had a heart attack, but I know what causes it. And most of it they don't measure.
Wow.
And if you get the right information, like Dr. Sam said, if you don't measure it, you'll miss the diagnosis. Why would you want to miss the diagnosis?
Wow. Dr. McConnell, thank you for being my guest. This has been fascinating, and I hope you all have enjoyed it. I can't wait to read your comments below, and we look forward to seeing you on the next presentation. Till then, be well, be blessed. We'll see you on the next one. Salute.
Take care.